Hello and welcome to this segment of Self-Help. I'm your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker. I appreciate you so much for joining us, and thank you for that. You know, as a social worker, it's a big deal to me to always meet the people who are actually doing the work, the people that are in the field making a difference for others. And so very, very excited to have with us a couple of representatives from CASA. First, we have Christine O'Quinn, the Executive Director. Christine, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
All right, we appreciate you being here. Next to her, Ms. Selma Reyes, who is the Training and Outreach Coordinator. Selma, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
You're very welcome. Now listen, one of those things that I don't know that people, when the word CASA comes up, I think they hear it all the time, and they don't necessarily know what it means, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, but let's get to know you a little bit. Christine, tell us a little bit about why CASA, and a little bit about you, and about how long you've been there.
Okay, so back in 2016, I was a stay-at-home mom, but my kids were gone, and so I felt like I needed to go out in the community, and my heart has always been with helping kids, and I wanted to volunteer. And so I did pray about it, and I was led to CASA of Terrebonne. And so from that journey, I trained as a volunteer. I was able to take 2 cases, and then the office manager position came up available, and I was hired on. And then I did a stint as the office manager, then as the outreach and training coordinator, and then my position as executive director. So it's been a stepping stone over the last 5 years to get me to this point.
You know, it's really interesting. Very often we find that to have empathy about any situation, we ask people to walk a mile in my shoes. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know that anybody who ever comes to CASA of Terrebonne who doesn't know what to do can just talk to you. Mm-hmm. Started as a volunteer, became the office manager, did training coordinator, and now the executive director.
Yeah.
And so you've truly walked a mile in each of those shoes. And so it really gives you just the best opportunity administratively of really knowing what it's like for people that work with you, knowing what it's like for the volunteers. What a great opportunity for that. So, well, thank you for what you do. Because I got to tell you, it's so very special. There's a reason why the word special is the S in CASA. There's a reason for that, because it takes special people to be able to do it. So, Selma, same thing with you. Tell us a little bit about your path and how you got to CASA and why that's important to you.
I have been with CASA of Terrebonne for the last 6 to 7 years, and so I moved from California to...
Well, welcome.
Thank you. To Houma, Louisiana about 10 years ago.
Okay.
And so in California, I was a legal advocate for an organization, nonprofit as well, and I advocated for victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and violent crimes.
Wow.
So I have been in that type of work.
Okay.
So definitely when I moved to Houma, Louisiana, CASA was one of those organizations that I wanted to be a part of. So I've been here since moving out here.
Yeah. So coming down here, how was the culture shock?
I think it took me about 3 years to get used to just the culture, the people.
Yeah.
But definitely this is a great place to raise a family. I will say that.
Well, and you know, it's really interesting because the kind of work that you guys do, and you mentioned your history and how you do that, it's so very important for people to realize that it's not all going to be perfect.
Correct.
And there's ways to be able to have really special people helping to make other people understand that. So let's talk about CASA. It's court-appointed special advocate. So it's CASA of Terrebonne. Just in general, Christine, tell us what you do at CASA that people need to know about. What is CASA?
So CASA is, we're an organization. We've been in existence for over 20 years. We're a nonprofit. And what we do is we train and we support advocates, volunteer advocates, and they in turn advocate for children in foster care here in Terrebonne Parish.
And it's so very unique, and it's kind of interesting. So tell us how that blending was for you, if you don't mind, about coming from California, Selma, and doing what you did there. Talk a little bit about that transition, because I'm assuming you started as a volunteer?
I actually started as staff. I had the case management background.
Wow.
And so definitely it was There was a transition, only
Okay.
because, I was frontline when I did my advocacy in California, and coming here, I was helping the volunteers, obtain the resources and the information that they needed in order for them to be able to assist the children that they are advocating for.
First and foremost, if anybody's watching this and they want to know what to do, how to get in touch with you, let's put that information up on the screen if you don't mind, Jen. So to reach out to CASA, it's CASA of Terrebonne. You can see there the magic above the kids, because that's what they're doing, trying to make things a lot more magical for kids and a lot more joy in their lives. They're at 402 Canal Street in Houma, Louisiana. You can reach them at 985-876-0250, or you can go online and find them at www.casaofterrebonne.org, and their whole goal is to change a child's story. And the only way to be able to do that is to really be able to understand what you guys do. So volunteers is going to come up a bunch. We talk about that a whole lot. So let's talk about what qualifications somebody needs to have to become a volunteer with CASA.
So you need to be at least 21 years old. They go through a background check that we do. There's an interview, an in-person interview that they come in for. And they come from all walks of life. Our volunteers right now are from teachers, nurses, retired business owners, stay-at-home moms. So it's a wide gamut. You don't have to have any special education. The training provides you with the knowledge to be able to advocate.
I love when I'm thinking something and somebody says it as a transition to what we do next. So thank you very, very much. You lead right into the one thing that we want to talk about with Soma, which is that, because I think very often, the reason I wanted you to mention about volunteers and who can do it is because I think a lot of people watching this right now are going, well, I think I might want to do that, but I'm afraid because I'm not trained. Let's talk about training, and more specifically, y'all have a rather special training that's going on right now. Let's talk a little bit about that, Soma.
So at this moment, just because of COVID and Hurricane Ida that just came through, we are offering a self-guide curriculum, which is a little bit more flexible for those individuals who want to be connected with CASA and want to help the children who are currently in foster care. So that self-guided curriculum is something that you do independently. We still take the same steps. You come to our office. We have that interview. We do the background checks. We provide you with a binder and some links.
Okay.
And you go home, and in the comfort of your home, you complete the assignments, you read the information, and then you call me and say, hey, I am ready to come and, discuss what I just read.
Right.
And that's what we do until that binder and that curriculum has been completed.
So you can do training in your pajamas.
Yes, absolutely. And we can even Zoom and say, hey, let's talk about it.
But not in your pajamas. Okay, right.
Correct.
So put that back up, Jen. I just kind of want people to know how easy this can be. And so I love the fact that y'all have changed that option. So again, you can do it independently, but you still have to complete your assignments. It's not like you can go home and get the book and say, I slept with it under my head. Now I know everything. They still need to do everything. You've got to be a competent user of technology, because all of your learning and your opportunities and your tests are all online, right?
Correct.
About being able to do that. And then you got to be able to complete assignments at your own pace. And then they've got to meet with you, either by Zoom or in person, with the CASA trainer to be able to do that. They have to come in and see you.
Correct.
All right. And so some of that may be by Zoom, but some of that may be also in person.
Correct.
Okay. And so I love the fact that you guys have been able to say, okay, during COVID, post-Hurricane Ida, we've got some challenges because, quite frankly, the numbers of volunteers had gone down, right?
Exactly.
So I try to keep pace with that, and so because of that, y'all have gotten creative and thought outside the box. And so how long did it take to kind of prepare this new self-guided program? I bet it took a little while.
Well, we get this from National. National
Okay.
CASA actually provides the curriculum, and we follow their curriculum. So both the traditional that we use, the flex training, and also this self-guided comes directly from them. And so that makes it really easy for us. We just have to have permission from them to use it.
To be able to do that. And it's
Yes,
great to be
yeah.
part of that larger organization, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Somebody else to kind of help provide those kinds of things
Yes.
and say, this is what you can do as an alternative. This is an option. So this is the first shout out that says, There's no excuse to not become a CASA volunteer. So for all of those people that may have been in your situation, Christine, where they may have been, I've raised my kids, they're gone now, that empty nest doesn't have to be empty. That nest can be filled with people who are in need.
Yes.
And that's just one of those things where partnering with a child who is in need can bring so much joy. So very interesting. I will tell you, the stories that I've heard about people who have done this as a volunteer, they feel almost a little guilty because they feel like they get as much, if not more, out of doing it than the child does.
Yeah.
I bet you've heard some of those stories.
Yes, we have. We've had several. I myself am a story in itself because, honestly, the rapport that you have with these children and the joy that you see, it's priceless when you're visiting with them, and just it kind of brings it all to center as far as what we're there for with these kids, and it's all about what's in their best interest. So it's special.
So now people have watched a couple segments, they got to know you, they got to know a little bit about what CASA does. Now they're excited about becoming a volunteer. So now let's talk a little bit about how they can do that. First, I want to put that information back up on the screen about how they can reach you. CASA of Terrebonne, again, 402 Canal Street for when you come in to meet with Selma, because you're going to need to. And phone number at 985-876-0250. And to start the process, you can change a child's story by going to www.casaofterrebonne.org. So some of this training process, we talked about it a little bit, it's one of those things that is your passion.
Correct.
You are the outreach and training coordinator. It's what you do. Let's talk a little bit about what that training is, so when people are watching, they know it's not too difficult, that they can come in and do that.
So we do have, at the beginning of the year, we are going to try to go back to our flex training if that is a possibility.
Okay.
But in that flex training, it's a 30-hour curriculum.
Right.
And so basically for 5 weeks, we meet once a week at our office from 5:30 to 8:30. We feed you great food, which is always a plus. And then when they leave that in-person session, then they go home and they do some online work. And at the end of the 6 weeks, they have completed 30 hours. Now, those 30 hours are intense. We watch, videos that kind of helps them understand what they're going to be doing and the issues that some of the parents have that have brought those children into foster care. So we talk about different topics. We give them, a lot of information, and it's overwhelming. I'm not going to say that it's not. However, they do have a supervisor that is assigned to them once it's been completed, once the training has been completed, and we guide you through it. Our office is very family oriented, and we walk along their side as they obtain the resources that they need in order to help the child that they have been assigned to.
Wonderful. And we've got a step-by-step process that'll kind of let you know. So Jim, put that next one up if you don't mind. It kind of lets you know what to expect and what the training is. So again, you mentioned earlier, Christine, you've got to be 21 years or older. And then the process is that you submit an application. It's easy. You can do that through the website, and that's how they can do that. No special background is needed, so you don't need to have to be one of the people like Soma was from California who was doing frontline work. You don't have to be a trained social worker like I am. You can, no special background is required. However, you need to know that what you're doing is special. All you do is attend a personal interview with the program staff, come in. It's just one of those ways to get to know each other, right?
Correct.
Make sure that it's a good personality, make sure that it's going to be a good fit. And I guess, quite frankly, you want to make sure that people are doing it for the right reasons, and so you consent to and you pass a criminal background check. Okay, that may rule some people out, but that's okay. And you check the child abuse registry, and you do those checks to make sure, again, that people are doing it for the right reason. And sometimes people who want to turn their life around, they want to be able to do that, but there's a process for it. Then you, much like you mentioned, Selma went into the 30-hour training course to be able to do that, and then you commit to serving for at least 2 years. It's a 2-year commitment. And the reason is because of the 30-hour training course. You're investing in that person as a volunteer You need to make sure that they're committed to being able to do that. And then they obtain 12 hours per year of in-service training after they take a case. And so the good news is about all of that is to be old enough to be able to do it. You get the training that you need. It's 30 hours. You're going to do it for 2 years, but you get 12 hours a year of making sure that the service training and taking that case. And so I like it because it outlines that very, very clearly. Some things that y'all might want to add to that
As far
about
as
the process.
I will reiterate that the supervisors are there every step of the way to advocate for a child. We normally say 10 to 12 hours a month, which if you think about 10 to 12 hours a month,
Not a whole
it is
lot.
very, very doable. And that includes visiting the child. We do require you to visit the child, get that relationship, and also going to hearings, going to family team meetings at the DCFS office, meeting with biological foster parents, and getting all those pieces together. Because what we want is, while the child is in state's custody, are those the needs of that child being met?
Are they
And
being
so,
met?
yeah,
Right.
and so we monitor that.
So now that
Yeah.
people are excited, let's show them the training dates. So some of the dates that are coming up, you need to be able to aware of. And so just to make sure you can put it on your calendar, the training dates, because y'all do these throughout the year, and these are the 30 hours that we're talking about. January 18th of 2022, March 19th of 2022, July 12th of 2022, and then October 11th of 2022. And these are the training dates that starts for the process of the 6 weeks, right? So that's the first date of the 6 weeks. 3 hours at CASA, and then another 3 hours at home, if I did my math right, right? And so, or a couple hours at home, and so they do that. And so, again, we want to kind of make sure that we let people know. So the last thing we want to let you know is this: volunteers are needed. It's easy.
Yeah.
Volunteer today. It's easy to be able to do. Apply online. We just described the whole process. Go to their website, www.casaofterrebonne.org. Selma, thank you for what you do every day. And thank you for being that trainer, for helping people know what they need to do when the volunteers come in. We're appreciative of what you do.
Thank you.
Ms. Christine, thank you for walking all of those paths that have led you to be the executive director of this wonderful nonprofit organization that we're just doing a shout out to get more people to come and work with you.
Thank you so
to take
much.
care of the kids. All right. Thank y'all for
Right.
joining us today. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
All right, guys, that'll do it for this self-help segment. Go online and find a way to volunteer with CASA. We appreciate it. Don't go anywhere. A lot more local programming when we continue.